I was talking to David Martindale, a Livingston manager, yesterday, and he was talking about what benefits may come if you expand the league in terms of developing youngsters and giving other teams an opportunity to benefit through the SPFL. Do you feel that there is a requirement by all clubs to try and develop young players and give youngsters an opportunity of playing at the highest level possible?
Yes, I think I've said a few times it's a really important part of our football club in general. We have a history of developing our own players. We've currently got at least 3 or 4 in the first team squad who have been developed within our own sort of infrastructure, and including our captain, and it's something that's, like I said, very important, and we put a great deal of emphasis on, and we'll continue to do so.
Would expanding the top flight, would that give more youngsters an opportunity?
Yeah, to be fair, I think probably David's got a lot more time during the week to be considering these things, mate. It's not something that, a subject that I'm going to be spending too much time thinking about at this present time. I think if there's a broader discussion at the appropriate time, yes, but we had a 3-game week last week. We've got another game tomorrow, and beyond that, I haven't had a lot of time to think of other things.
Hi, Ange. Obviously, you're heading into the international break, so just want to speak about some players. Obviously, Greg Taylor isn't going away with the Scotland squad. What's the update with him?
Yeah, look, like all the international players, we provide all the relevant information to the national teams, and it's up to them then to decide whether they call the players up or not. But from our perspective, Greg's available and will play tomorrow, and it's the same with Cameron. But as I said, it's the same with all these international players. Before they go, we give them relevant information, and then it's up to the national team, their medical team, and obviously the manager to then decide whether they call them up or they decide that leave them this time for rehab purposes.
I know Rio, Hatate and 𝗙𝗂𝗹𝗶 haven't been called up to the Japan squad. How surprised are you by that, given their current form? I know the Japan coach has spoken about he looks at the level that they're playing at as well. Do you think that's a bit disrespectful as well?
No, I mean, look, in terms of, obviously, both boys are playing really, really well, playing some good football, and, it's disappointing for them they haven't been selected, but again, that's the nature of international football. It comes down to, the national team managers' decisions, and, whatever decisions they make in terms of disrespectful, it's one person's opinion. I don't know. I'm not really sure that we should make too many far-reaching conclusions. If you come here next week, you'll probably find that we don't have many players training. The reason for that is they're away at international football. We had 5 players at the World Cup who did okay, probably better than okay. We have players, we've had 𝗙𝗂𝗹𝗶 and 𝗰𝗵 High𝗳𝗲𝗄𝗃 leave our football club and are playing regularly in the Bundesliga, which is a top 5 league. Now, unless, once they enter those clubs, they magically become better footballers, I suggest that, I don't think the selection of individual players comes down to the level of the league. There's been plenty of players who've left us or left this league and gone to the biggest leagues in the world and have performed very well. Plenty of footballers in the Scottish Premiership who have done extremely well at international level, and plenty of players who've come from top 5 leagues who have struggled in the Premiership. So, one man's opinion doesn't mean that, you should, like I said, doesn't mean it's wrong, but it doesn't mean that that's the case either.
Hi, Ange, just on that, I mean, does it make you wonder what more the guys, and 𝗙𝗂𝗹𝗶 in particular, how well he's playing, does it make you wonder what more they kind of have to do almost to break into that squad?
I don't give it too much thought, mate. Again, my role is I'm their club coach, I'm not their national team manager, and, from my perspective, I just try and help them be the best they can be and sort of, make sure that they're in a good space in terms of dealing with whatever challenges they have in their football careers. Now, I don't think there'd be there wouldn't be many greater disappointments than missing selection for a World Cup. And if you look at the way the two lads have responded to that, they're playing football better than ever. So, they're both, really determined young men, and they're going to get to the top of the game one way or another, and whatever challenges they have in front of them, I'm sure they'll overcome them. And my role within that is to try and, help them do that.
You mentioned the international break there. Obviously, apart from crossing your fingers that the guys who are away come back, fit and healthy and ready to go for the run-in, how beneficial can this be for you and for the guys that are here, that there is this mini break almost?
Oh, look, I don't know. It depends. Look, with all these things, you just don't know. We're in good form. We're playing some great football. We're scoring goals. We're ticking some pretty big boxes the way we're going. So you don't know how the break will go. So, like I said, we've got quite a few away with international duty. Others who we can put some work into, which is good. Others, can do a little bit of a freshening up. And like always, we'll use this time to prepare the team for what's left of this season, make sure that we, whether they're international duty or they're here, that when they get back here, we finish the season really strong. We use the World Cup break, I think, really well, and that's evidenced in the fact that, our form and performances since then, and the idea is to use this break to hopefully, finish the season really strong.
Hi, Ange. How's the squad looking for tomorrow's game? Any fresh injury concerns?
There's a couple who'll miss out tomorrow, probably. Aaron Moy will miss out. He's been a bit sore last couple of weeks, and probably this weekend he won't be able to get up for. And 𝗙𝗂𝗹𝗶 𝗺𝗲 got a bit of a back strain at training yesterday, and couldn't train today. So again, at a push, both could have played, but with a 2-week break, we decided to sort of leave them out tomorrow. But 𝗙𝗂𝗹𝗶 is back; he's fine, and 𝗙𝗂𝗹𝗵, who went off at half-time, is fine as well.
10 goals in your last 2 games against Hibernian. Seemed like a team you and your players like playing against. What do you expect from them tomorrow?
We enjoy playing every team, mate. We enjoy playing every game. There's no teams we like playing, or there's certainly any teams we don't like playing. Every game is an opportunity for us to play our football and make sure that we maintain the standards and performances and improve on them. So it's another challenge for us against Hibs tomorrow. They've been a good run of form. Obviously the last game didn't go well for them, but prior to that they've been 7 unbeaten, and I think they brought in some good young talent during the January window, and be a good challenge for us. But we treat every opponent with the same respect, and we go into every game looking to play our football.
And it's just on Aaron Moy. Obviously, I think he was named in the Australia squad. Is he going to go away, or is he going to stay behind to recover?
Again, that'll be up to the national team. We during international windows, FIFA international windows, even if a player's injured, the national team's got the right to call them up and assess them themselves. So we just provide the information and leave the decision up to the national teams.
And you mentioned obviously Greg and Cameron, the information you gave to their countries. Are you hopeful that this is a good chance for them maybe to get over any kind of wee issues they've got? Obviously got a huge kind of run of games coming up after the break as well.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't read too much into it, but they'll play tomorrow, so that kind of gives you an idea of where they're at. Our medical team, are on top of all the players. I mean, look, all players have some issues here and there at different times, and we manage them the best way we can. If we need to give them a break, we give them a break. But like I said, both will play tomorrow, and then after that, we'll assess what kind of program we give them for the next 2 weeks.
Hi, Ange. Just on the subject of the guys going on international break, can that be a bit of a double-edged sword for yourself? Yet they're very good in their league duties, but you lose quite a few of them when it comes to the international games coming up.
Look, not really. For the most part, like I've always said, I mean, I think I see it as a positive. I mean, you just have to look at, like I said, the World Cup. We had Aaron Moy, 𝗙𝗂𝗹𝗵, Alistair Johnson, Cameron, obviously, and Josip, who's gone. But the 4 who are still here I think their form since the World Cup's been outstanding, and I think it's because they went to the World Cup and did well and sort of came back here with a renewed sense of, you know, who they are and their beliefs. So I think national team football, international football helps that for sure. And, you know, unless, knock on wood, unless there's an injury, which obviously can happen at any time, you know, I'm always encouraged when they go away because I think they come back with even more belief in themselves.
And just on 𝗙𝗂𝗹𝗹 and 𝗙𝗂𝗹𝗵 obviously not getting called up, can you use that as a positive though for Celtic? You're not running the risk of them going away and possibly getting injured. They're going to be here fully fit for yourself.
Yeah, I don't think about it that way because I know, you know, things can happen here at training. I mean, that's not how it works. You know, you don't. It's not like they'll be here and we're going to put them in cotton wool and they're not going to do anything. They're still going to be training with us. And again, I'd much rather they were in the national team. To be honest, I think the way they're playing, both of them. I think if they're away with the Japan national team, I think they'd show what good form they're in and they'd get a great deal out of that. But as I said, they've dealt with that disappointment before and not let that affect them. So they're here with us now and we'll use that time as best we can to make sure that they're ready to go once the league starts.
I spoke to Jota just beforehand and I was asking about if he thinks that the team's playing style has evolved at all since he's joined the club. In your eyes, do you see the team style have evolved at all? Do you think there's been a sort of change in how we've played and that's been a contributing factor in how our performance levels have stayed this high?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we as a coaching group with the boys in the analysis department are constantly commenting on the fact that, you know, we'll sometimes look at clips of even of us earlier in the year and we'll see how much our game has evolved. Now, you know, maybe to the naked eye in terms of the overall, it doesn't look that different. But, you know, within the context of the way, there's some subtleties there, some of our movements, some of our positional play, some of our, you know, the areas that we kind of dominate have evolved because I think you have to because, you know, teams try and work out ways, obviously, with us to stop us and, you know, we need to be constantly thinking about what the next layer in our football is to overcome whatever the opposition may do. And as I said, that we've seen, and you know, like I said, with the footage we have, you know, there's real evidence that our game has evolved, and it has to, and it needs to keep evolving, and so that we can keep improving, you know, not just our overall team play, but also the individual players within that.
And you talk a lot about. I've been in your press conferences before and you talk a lot about players learning how to play in your team and it's, you know, your methods are it appears that they're very different to maybe other coaches. Look at last season where this was your first season in Scotland last season. Is there anything you've learned going into the business end of last season that you can take into sort of going into the business end of this season?
No, not really. I mean, I think from my perspective, everywhere I've gone in terms of building teams, the process is fairly similar, irrespective of the league. Is the first year is always building, you know, a foundation of some really strong core principles around our football, our environment, our culture, our people, all these kind of things, and you use that first year, you know, to try and as much as possible, you know, create a framework that then allows you in year 2 and year 3 and beyond to then improve and evolve as a team. So, you know, nothing really changed me coming here. You know, probably last year there was obviously more urgency around the fact that we needed to be successful. It couldn't just be a building year, and I was conscious of that when I took the role. So, you know, there was a few things I tried to fast track and we were able to because, you know, the players we brought in, you know, really hit the ground running, which allowed us to not just, like I said, build some strong foundations, but also have success. But, you know, the process has been the same wherever I've been. And I think if you look at kind of my history at club football level, even at international, you know, the first year is really about just building some strong foundations. And then beyond that is just about, you know, keeping the team play evolving to levels where they can continue to have success.
Wanted to just talk about when we're talking about Celtic's style of football under you, it's normally about attacking wise, how we press to win the ball back right away after we lose possession. But in the last couple of games with Hearts, we've seen more playing out from the back, especially from goal kicks, and a lot more than perhaps any other team in the league. How do you approach setting up the organised defence for this, especially since it doesn't happen very often in Scotland? And is it a part of the coaching you find interesting?
Yeah, look, I think what we try and do is kind of when we have, and it's fair to say, sort of the last 4 or 5 weeks, apart from last week when we had the midweek game, we've had some good blocks of training where we could sort of, go through our methodology and see how it would work against different types of opposition, so that we're not just preparing for the next game, but also, trying to prepare the team for different scenarios. And, we've worked a hell of a lot over the last probably since the World Cup break on, pressing oppositions who play out from the back, and also us playing out from the back under pressure, even though it doesn't happen in the league. We still work hard in those areas of training just to keep giving players the tools that if that's required, because even within the context of, not all games, but some games that we're playing at the moment, teams may change during the course of a game because, to give you an example, obviously Hearts went down, 2-0 or 3-0, they changed their formation, they went to a back four, they got a bit more aggressive. So we're prepared for that. It's not just about saying, well, this is how they play and this is what we're going to do. It's about trying to create as many scenarios of training that the players will see the cues when they're out there and say, okay, we've already sort of addressed this, even though it wasn't specific to this team, and we know how to counteract it. So there's a constant, working of the team sort of style against all kinds of different, opposition setups, so that, as I said, training for us is about trying to give the tools to the players that on game day, during the game, they can have answers for, rather than sort of, looking to us when the game's on to see what to do.
And just following on from that, if you're coaching these hypotheticals, does that involve a lot more video analysis or more theoretical approach? Maybe John Kennedy a bit more involved rather than the practical side of things?
No, it's probably the other way around, because we don't have a lot of sort of video evidence from our games anyway. I know John and the other coaches, do reference other teams that sort of would play in a similar style and try and, marry that up to what we're doing. But most of ours is practical. The beauty of our team at the moment is we've got 25, 26 good quality players. So our training's really competitive. So if we set up a team to play out from the back here, they're pretty good at it because they can all play, and the team that has to stop them has to be pretty good at stopping them, and vice versa, because that's, like I keep saying, the level of our training is what drives performance. And so we can set up, and John, to be fair, John drives most of that. John Kennedy drives most of that in terms of the planning of the sessions and the way it goes. And, a lot of our development comes from the practical rather than the sort of, like I said, the analysis and video stuff, because the stuff we review from our sort of, particularly our domestic games, sometimes there isn't a lot in there to take away for some of the principles we want to try and improve.